It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
What do you see when you're in the dark and the demons come?
Houston, we have a problem.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Welcome everybody to Buried Stories. I'm Jeff Mercurio. With me, Wendell Brown. Wendell, how are you?
I'm good, Jeff. How are you today?
Good, good. I came across an article, Wendell, that says 41% of Americans believe in ghosts. And that was from a 2021 YouGov study that did the research. There was 22 that were indifferent. But tonight we're going to talk about the haunting on 34th Street. And I take this personal because it happened to me and it also happened to my family. So I got a round table of guests tonight. We'll go over some of the stories that happened to us, how it affected us, how we feel about it years later. So with that, let's get into today's stories. So this house was in 34th Street, Lorain, Ohio. It was built by my grandfather. I don't exactly know the year, but these stories go back many years to my mother, my father. I don't know much about Grandma, but it also happened to my older sister, younger sister, and younger brother. So we got my sister, Michelle Mercurio. Hello, Shelley. We got my brother, Steve Mercurio. Hello, Steve.
What's up?
Hey, Stevie.
And we got my younger sister, Jennifer. Thank you for joining, Jen.
Hello.
All right, so to the family, what's the first thing that comes to mind when I talk about the house on 34th Street, the feeling that comes to you? Shelley, we'll start with you.
First off, great memories. We spent many years living there. Great memories. But as far as the hauntings go, I'll start off with some of Mom's stories telling us about the stuff that happened when I was just a baby. The one in particular that sticks out really bad for me is Mom would say they ended up living with Grandma. They would be on the second floor in the larger bedroom. And there was a night that my mom woke up. Let me go back a little bit. So it was my mom's mom that they were living with. And my mom's mom, Grandma Mary, she was visiting Uncle Ron in Germany. So she wasn't home. There was nobody downstairs. My mom and dad were upstairs in the bedroom with me. And I'm just a baby. So the night in particular, my mom woke up to my dad sitting on the edge of the bed with a shotgun. And she's like, Tony, what is going on? And my dad was insisting that somebody was downstairs, that somebody was there. And that happened several times over a period of time that they felt like somebody was in the house, but there was nobody there. I do remember, and this one I don't know when, but I think one of the times my dad went in there, it's almost like the room had moved a little bit, like the bed had moved or things were not in place. But again, my grandma was overseas and she wasn't like the most nimble of person. She had broke her leg, sometime in her life. And so ever since then, she really walked slow. But, and to give you just a little story besides that, from what I understand, and my sisters and my sister and my brothers can back this up, Grandma Busha died in my grandmother's room. So there was a death in the house. So that kind of was all right. And that's kind of what I remember starting off. There's a lot of other different stories with Mom, but this is much later on as we were getting older and we paid attention to more. Because remember, we're just teenagers. We're just running around, like causing chaos and mayhem. So we weren't really paying attention to really what was going on. But yeah, Mom was a big one where she said there were many times that she woke up and Tony was on edge because You always felt like somebody was there.
Do you think the house was haunted?
I do. I
Okay.
don't when okay, I think of haunting as being, and I know my brothers and my sister might disagree. It's like it's a scary experience, and I don't feel like each one of us had the same experience where maybe my sister and my brother Steven and Jeff had a more haunting. Mine was I didn't have as many, but in my mind I didn't want anybody to talk to me. And plus, grandma was around all the time. I used to go sleep in her bedroom with her and keep her company. So maybe that was some way of her protecting. I don't know, but
Yeah, yeah. When I say haunting, I don't mean like mean or malice or
yeah.
anything. Just was there something else there
Yeah.
besides you guys?
There was
Okay.
definitely there were things there for sure. For sure.
Now, as far
Carry on,
as
Jeff.
when I remember the house, I just remember always feeling sort of a a deep pressure in that house. There was, to me, there was a lot of, I mean, there was good times and stuff, but there was a lot of sorrow just in the house alone. Almost you could cut through it and felt like you're constantly being watched. I mean, my first story that I even remember was I was between 8 or 12, and previous I was a rambunctious kid, always getting in trouble by dad and stuff like that, as you guys know. But anyhow, I had taken some of those little barrel root beer barrel candies from grandma's room, and I put them in
Yeah,
the
the
room that
best.
you had for that you had downstairs. But I did something and I got in trouble, and I was told to go lay down. And I was in that bed, and I was facing, it was up against the wall, and the windows in front of me, and you had another window on the side. But I was angry that night, and so I popped one of these candies in. And at that time, I was going to a Catholic school, and I knew, you know, good and evil, but I was taunting this thing. I just kept saying, "Demon, show yourself." I mean, over and over, and repeating this thing. And I'll be damned if this dark, I mean darker than the room figure was kneeling at the end of the bed and just kind of steepled up looking at me with these kind of yellowish eyes, and it caught me by surprise and scared me so bad. I inhaled and the candy got lodged in my throat and I couldn't breathe, so I'm choking, and this thing stands up and turns and kind of glances back and then just disappears as I'm running out of the room. And of course, mom and dad are out in the living room, and dad's got to sweep my throat to get it out. Before I can explain anything, he's like, you know, yelling at me for having candy. I'm like, Dad, back to bed. So that was my first story, first memory in that house. So to me, it was almost as if this thing wasn't nice. It didn't like me, or it was taunting me like, well, you called me, what do you want? Now, Steve, how about you? First memory of that house, or when I bring up the house, what did you feel?
Well, looking back on it, the first thing that I actually remember from what I thought was a paranormal standpoint was, um, the pressure, what they call the old hag syndrome. It was a beautiful house, 4 bedroom. The only problem is it did not have air conditioning. The only rooms that had an air conditioner in the window were my parents' room upstairs and my grandmother's room. And so, inevitably, it was a brick home. That place used to get so hot, and boy, did it hold that heat at night. So the only place we could go, honestly, was either sneak into my grandma's room or sneak into my parents' room. And so inevitably, Jeff and I stayed upstairs in the second bedroom. So we would sneak over into my parents' house and sleep on the parents' room and sleep on the floors next to their bed. And I remember I was sleeping over on the side closest to the window near our driveway. And as I was laying there, I don't think I fell asleep at all. I was just standing there kind of staring at the ceiling. And that was the first time I ever experienced that old hag syndrome where I felt like 1,000 pounds of pressure on my entire body. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream, couldn't say anything. I could breathe. I could move my eyes, and it felt like it lasted an eternity, which probably honestly only lasted probably 10 to 15, maybe 20 seconds. But, I think I was like 8 years old at the time, and I was super scared because I had never felt or experienced anything like that. And kind of going back to what you were saying, Jeff, I do think that there was like a heavy presence or like a certain type of pressure in that home. And I think that there were multiple different, entities or spirits involved in the whole thing, because I do think a good portion of maybe what we were experiencing had to do with our grandfather, who, unfortunately, Grandpa Kuspel, none of us met him. But I do believe he was a portion. And then I also think that there was something else there that we couldn't quite put our finger on,
Jennifer, how about you? Memories of that house? What's the first thing that comes to mind of how you felt, and what was your first experience?
I do agree with you guys about the pressure in the house, a heavy presence, but my first, I would say, encounter, it was not as heavy as your guys's, but I remember it was Nick Doré and Steven were in their room playing Ouija board, and they would send me out so they put something on the kitchen table and then come back and not tell them, but to see if the Ouija board could tell what I placed on there. One time it was I placed a red crayon, and because Steve told me to place a crayon of some color, but not to tell him the color. Well, when I placed the red and the Ouija said it, and I went out to place an object in not any direction, I kept hearing somebody call my name. I felt a heavy presence behind my back, like touching my shoulder in a way that it scared me. But I would always hear my name being called. That's where it all started for me. So I would always ask mom, or grandma too. Grandma, did you call my name? And she'd look at me like I'm wild. Like,
Right.
No, I didn't call you. And it was like from the other room. The first time I heard my name being called is when I was picking up that red crayon. I heard it whisper in my left ear, my name. And I freaked out because I was like, it was heavy.
Right.
It was real heavy. But it probably didn't help that we were playing with the Ouija board. But it was crazy that the Ouija board itself was telling I didn't tell. They didn't place it on the table. I placed it, but it was always right. Every object I put on that table, it knew.
Do you think something else was there at the house?
Oh, there for sure. It gets worse and worse every year because I was the last kid after they left.
Steve, I know. I'm sorry, Jennifer. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just Steve. I've kind of I take it you do because we've had discussions, and Jeff, I know you do, right?
Yeah.
Jeff, the video that you let me see when it was when I was watching the video of your mom, and your sisters when they were real small,
Right.
talking. Which one was doing that?
What video?
Was telling the story?
Do you remember when I had Joe over and we were trying to do something with I had that Super 8 camera, and I actually
placed it down in the basement?
Yeah, but I interviewed Mom and I interviewed Steve.
Yeah.
I also interviewed you, and Erica were together. You don't remember
it was one
that?
of your sisters and her friend, right?
Yeah, that was Jennifer.
Yeah, it was
and
one of your
her friend.
sisters and her friend.
Yeah. I still have it too, by the
Interesting.
way. Right.
I want to
I've never
see it.
seen that.
Yeah.
I'll show you guys.
So-
I would love.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Good
stuff.
Listen, just really, really quick. I don't know if I ever told you guys, but do you remember Michelle Kelly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you remember a lady? It was mostly Michelle Kelly, but Kristen Winnias. She was
That
the
name
blonde-hair
sounds
girl,
familiar. Yeah.
the flock
Yeah.
of seagull lady.
Yeah.
Okay, we in my bedroom we did the Ouija board on multiple occasions, and I don't know if you guys know that or not.
I never knew that.
Yeah, we did on several occasions. We were messing around with it.
Which potentially would make you the first one out of our generation to be playing with Ouija boards.
Yeah.
It truly it was. Nobody, you know what? The thing is if you think about it, the history of the Ouija board and everything, I mean, Hasbro put it out like it's a toy, right?
Right.
So it's
And
just a toy, and you know,
Well,
you
yeah.
mess around.
I think it opens up a gateway. If you allow it, it opens up a gateway. Something comes through there, and if you don't know what you're doing, it's out and it's in your realm now.
I think
Right.
it's
Well,
intention.
true.
I mean, because obviously almost any item can potentially be considered like a portal, right? But a lot of it goes in intention. What are our intentions when we're playing with such item? I mean, obviously, when it comes to a Ouija board, our intention as a family, we're trying to speak with ghosts and anybody who would honestly answer, right? I mean, we didn't care. We didn't
No.
know who we were talking to. We thought we might have been talking to somebody special, but
Steve, but I remember that night with you and Nick, but it told you, it gave it a name, but I can't remember the name to save my life. It said it wasn't, it was a male name, but it gave you a name because you asked, who are you speaking to? And like you came up with some names, like just random, say like Ryan or something. And it gave, I remember a name, and it's on the tip of my tongue because I remember it so vividly that night, but I can't remember the name right away. But it gave us a name.
Well, Jeff, as an outsider looking in, the things that really caught me were Steve's discussions about your grandpa. That was a freaking movie. His story about your grandpa in the corner and all that. That sticks with me. One thing that's always stuck with me since I met you, and we started talking, and we found out we were kind of like-minded, was that you were adamant that you invited evil in. And that always, you know, a lot of people wouldn't admit to that, but you were pretty blatant about, I think I invited something in. And then you kept telling, well, you should hear my sister's stories too. They're friends. And your room, the $20 room that nobody can stay in, Steve and Jeff told me about. I'd like you guys to touch on that.
Are you talking about my old bedroom?
That is
No,
amazing.
this one's-
I would
No,
love that one.
okay.
This
Go
was
ahead.
the room that I stayed in upstairs, Mom's original
Oh.
bedroom.
Well, I couldn't
Yeah.
stay in that room either.
So-
You
That
see?
is
So the
a
story
freaky
goes-
room.
So I was telling you, going back to what Wendell was saying. Number one, I don't even know if I ever told Jen or Shelly this story about the grandpa in the corner. Did I ever
That's a
tell you
movie.
guys? Okay.
Okay.
So Jen, Shelly, Jeff's heard this. So, okay. So we were downstairs. It was like my 20th or 21st birthday. I know I had one of each. It was downstairs. We were having the whole rap show. You know, I think we had a kegger going on. Okay. So I worked at May Company at the time, and my boss in the print room, she was like, I think I was 19, 20. My boss was like 35 years old, right? And she was really cool. And she told me at work when we worked together that she could see spirits, she could talk to spirits. But, you know, I didn't really put a lot, and I never told her our house was haunted. I just said, oh, you know, I've had some run ins, whatnot. No big deal. So I invited her to that party, right? So you had about 65, 70 people down in the basement, all having a great time. And my boss is sitting downstairs against the back wall. We had some of those just chairs, kind of lounge chairs set up. She's sitting there and she calls me over. She's like, Steve, come on over here. So I sat down next to her, and first thing she looked at me and she said, is your house haunted? And I had this big smile on my face, and I just looked at her and I was like, why do you ask? And she goes, and she pointed to the corner where our washer and dryer was. And she goes, there's a gentleman standing over there right now. I see him. He's bald. He's wearing clothes that look like back in maybe the 60s. She described his clothing, darker colored pants, a button-up type of shirt. And she said he's just standing there over there, and he's looking at the party. He's just kind of looking around at the people. And she goes, and what's weird about it is I see him walk up the steps and disappear. He's gone. And then I look away for 2 seconds and I look back and he's standing in the same place he was. I never saw him walk back downstairs. He's just standing there looking at the party, smiling at people and everything. And she goes, and I'll see him walk up the stairs again and disappear. And she goes, it's like almost every time I look over in that corner, there he is. And that's when I told her, I was like, well, yeah, I told her kind of the stories about my grandfather. And what's weird about that is I know you guys remember the story of having my cousin Jake at the house, right? Was when Uncle Ronnie was going through a divorce. So he was staying outside on the couch. Okay. And Jake was spending the night. We were staying in your old room, Shell, where I eventually moved into. And we had the bunk beds. And we saw the door, our door, Jake and I, it's probably, I don't know, 1 a.m. Eventually we're falling asleep. And I swear I thought I was sleeping when this happened. So Jake and I are talking, and eventually we just go silent. And a couple minutes later, I see the bedroom door open, but nothing's opening it. It just opens by itself. And then I saw a man walk into the room, kind of look like when you watch Star Wars and you see Obi-Wan Kenobi after he passed away, kind of that light glow, but you could see him, but you could see through him. That's what I saw. I saw a man walk into the room, and he turned and he smiled at us. Now, obviously, Jake was on the top bunk. I was on the bottom bunk. And then he walked over, and I had that, if you remember, I had that mirror, that the double-sided mirror we had in the basement, like that full, like an area where a woman would put on their makeup. It
I
was
remember
sitting,
that.
yeah, and it was sitting in there, and the man walked up to that mirror and started checking its hair, even though it was bald, like started kind of checking its hair, and it smiled at me through the mirror. And then it was walked over to the bed, put his hand on the top bunk, looked down at me and smiled. And then I assume it stood up. And I can only assume it smiled at Jake. And then the weird thing was it walked out of the room and then did not grab the door. It walked out of the room and then the door slowly closed on its own. Okay. Now, I thought I was dreaming. But when we woke up in the morning, Jake asked me, he was like, hey, Steve, did you see that guy walk into our room last night? And it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, oh my God, that was not a dream. Because how could Jake experience that same thing?
I think the Obi-Wan Kenobi reference is why I say it's a movie.
Yeah,
Because it really sticks with me.
Yeah, it was so weird. And I think even going back now, I'd love to hear how Jake would describe that story.
Yeah.
If he saw it, I mean, it's been many years. Obviously, we were, I think, maybe 12, 13 at the time, something like that. But yeah.
Right.
And here's the weird thing, coming full circle, the way that the lady, my boss, described the man in the corner was the exact way I remember seeing him walk into the bedroom, like almost the same clothing and all.
Do you think it's your grandpa in the house, or you think it's something else or more than just your grandpa?
I definitely
More.
think it was my grandfather. I mean, he passed away when my mom was 13 years old. He had a very rocky relationship with my grandmother at the time. And I think he was, by the way, the house wasn't even done being built yet. The whole upstairs, he was proud because he finished the room that we talk about upstairs, the one nobody wants to go into. He finished that one room, and that was supposed to be my mother's bedroom, and he was so proud. But the rest of the upstairs wasn't finished yet. It was just, down basically, just the studs and everything. So
Didn't
he wasn't
have
even
a
done
heart
with the
attack
home.
in
I think
the
he had a
house?
stroke. I think
His
Stroke in the
that's where it
house.
started. In Shelley's
Yes.
bedroom, if I remember correctly, is where it
Well,
started.
He actually wasn't in the bedroom. He ended up in the bedroom, more towards, but actually, you might be right. Maybe he was in that bedroom. But he did have a stroke, and by the time the ambulance and everything had gotten there, he did die at the hospital. He was just. Hey, real quick about that piece that you guys were talking about in my old bedroom. Grandpa built that.
Wow.
Do you remember?
The triple mirror, with the
Yes.
fold. Oh, that was a beautiful piece.
Wow.
I just remember Mom talking about it, but yeah, Grandpa built that. So, but I know what you're referring to.
that makes sense now because he walked in and that was the one piece of furniture he literally walked up to, right?
Yeah.
It's almost a pride thing right there.
Yeah. Well,
Or go ahead.
I was going to tell you, so one of my biggest experience that I ever had, speaking of the corner in the basement where Steven is referring to, we were getting ready to leave the house. I was with Mom. We were going to like Hills. Remember where Hills was back in the day?
Yeah.
So we were leaving and I walked out of the house first. And we always left a light on downstairs by the washer and dryer. It was just a pull light. And that would be pretty much the only light that was left on. And when you walked out of our house to the driveway, you could see the window, which looked right at the washer and dryer. And I was standing outside, probably smoking. And I'm waiting for Mom to come out, but I've seen a shadow walking around. And I'm like, well, that's weird because I just came out of the house, just came out. So I know nobody was downstairs. Like I know my brothers and sisters weren't downstairs. And I just seen this shadow just kind of walking around. And then it was gone. I mean, I didn't, for me, I'm like, I'm not going any further because I already know the things about the house. So Mom followed and I asked her if she saw anything. And I told her what happened. And of course, Mom had a way of just saying,
it is what it is.
It is what it is. Probably
Yeah.
nothing. But
Jeff had mentioned that you had that experience. Jeff, just to put on your list there, don't forget the hands coming around the pillar guy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Steve.
That
We'll
one.
get to that. Yep.
Yeah.
And I am really interested. And Steve tells a story, but about that closet that nobody will stay in that room or something by themselves.
are you guys talking
that-
about my room?
Wendell, there's
Yeah.
two different things. Shelley's
Okay.
room that she stayed in, from what I could remember, Shell, you couldn't lay looking at the closet. Is that correct?
It would be not so much that the closet door always had to be closed. There was like rules that I don't even know where I established the rules that I lived or whatever that I abided by while I was in that room. But one of them was that closet door always had to be closed. Like if I was going to go to sleep.
Right.
If you guys remember, Mom hearing me and she thought it was me, the running up the steps and stuff. So,
Jeff heard it too.
and like, I remember you guys telling me that story, and here I was sleeping in Grandma's room, like dead asleep, right?
Yeah.
Jennifer was the
So-
sleeping girl that you were talking
Yes.
about? Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
So, all right, let's go back a little bit.
Wait a minute,
Oh,
Jennifer.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead and finish your story.
But I would hear footsteps all the time, like, because Mom, I agree with you guys. The only place I felt ever safe in the house was with Grandma.
Grandma.
In Grandma's room. That's why when she passed away, I took over her room. And I have stories and haunting stories about that. Like, but,
Do tell.
yeah.
She had also in her room, it was like a sacred place. So she had in the one corner of her dresser, she had a picture of our grandpa, John. And
Yeah,
right now,
I remember.
like real near it was a statue of Mary. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful
Yeah.
statue. And
'Cause
so
I
I
had-
don't know. It was just a very safe place. You always felt safe when you were, I guess, around her. Like nothing was gonna.
And I still felt safe, like in that room. And there was a night where I know for a fact Grandma visited me because I smelled that perfume
Oh, that's right.
and it's so distinct. And then I felt I was sleeping in bed. It was some late night, probably between 2 and 4 a.m. because I went upstairs to Mom afterwards. But I first had that distinct smell that woke me up because it was strong. and I was like, well, Grandma's perfume is not in the house no more. And I felt, and without me fully turning around yet, I felt like she sat on the bed behind me. I felt this sense of ease compared to all my other haunting stories, but the sense of ease that it's okay that she's visiting me. So I just was like, Grandma, like, I miss you. Cause remember, me and Grandma were two peas in a pod. Where Grandma
Yeah.
was, I was. Like, she would wait for me on the porch, but I felt, and then when I finally kind of like, I didn't fully turn around, but I nudged over to look over, I seen an indentation in the bed, like somebody was sitting there. That I was like, okay, Grandma, maybe you're my guardian angel now, but I felt so secure. And then it just slowly, like she got up out of the bed because felt like the hand, like she would push herself up. Because, like you said, Shell, she had the cane by then. I remember that cane distinctly, but she was a slow walker. So I felt the pressure, like she was pushing herself up from the bed. But that smell of perfume, that I was like, I knew it was okay, but it still kind of freaked me out. That I went upstairs to Mom and I was like, Mom, Grandma just visited me, because here I am yet again waking her up super early in the morning. But there was a big distinct time of me, because there was, after Steve left, even while Steve was there, like with the incident with Erica, and what happened to her, and I watched it happen. But like, I know what Steve means about that dark presence, and I've seen it multiple times. I felt it sit on my chest and I couldn't move, to the point, not a lot of you guys know, but I went through sleep analysis because I felt like this dark figure. I knew I was sleeping, but I knew I was awake, like in my dream. So I had to go through some sleep analysis because it followed me ever since I left the house, where I knew I was sleeping. Like in my dream, I woke up from my dream, but I knew I was in the dream, but I was always in the house on 34th Street. And I would be like waking up and just, I knew it was a dream, but and Rob could testify. It was one night when I was sleeping, just starting to date Rob. In the dream, I was at the house on 34th. I got up in the middle of the night to go get a snack or whatever. And then I felt the presence, but the presence sits on my chest. Like it will yoink me back and pull me back into the room. And he's watching me flare in bed, like to try to wake myself up because I know I'm dreaming. But how is Rob? Rob thinks I'm having a seizure of some sort, but I felt like it would always sit on top of me. And then you would hear like tornado wind in your ears. That's like, it wouldn't say anything to me, but that was years after I left the house.
Right.
Was Erica the hair pull incident, Jeff?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead. Tell them about that story about Erica. She didn't believe you at first.
She didn't mean Erica. Erica was always over the house. every day we were two peas in a pod. And if I remember correctly, we were trying to be goofy. Steve, I'm pretty sure you were outside with Brando and all of them. We were doing things through the kitchen window, like dumb stuff. And then she sat down and I mentioned to her, I said, you're going to think I'm crazy, but like we have ghosts. And she laughed it off and like try to be like, well, whatever. And she was like, I don't believe in ghosts. As soon as she said it, you could see the whiplash where something pulled her hair back and it was like instant.
Wow.
and pushed her head back up. And I looked at her and she looked at me and she was white as a ghost. And they had the shelving units. Remember that old wooden, and Mom loved her apples back, like some wooden figurine. Some were old grandma's, but like a few of them just got knocked over right onto her head. And I watched it tip over and fall on her. And then we just stared at each other for a minute because I didn't know what happened. Like it didn't register yet that something pulled her hair. I thought she just had, I don't know. It was weird. And I was like, are you okay? She goes, she was like, no, I'm not right now. I was like, well, what's going on? I knew. But ever since then, like Erica always, from that day forward, Erica had that sixth sense where she would tell me if we were somewhere that she could feel a presence and then something would happen. So maybe maybe the ghost taught her a lesson, but I don't think to me, it wasn't just one instance. I think like grandpa came to pay a visit, but that wasn't basically to make sure we're okay. But I don't feel like we had a dark presence in that house.
So you
We
think
did
there
for
was something
sure.
else besides your grandpa?
Oh, for sure.
You do, Michelle, right?
Oh yeah, there was more.
Okay.
There's more in that house than just them. Because again, going over, like, I had left, so a lot of the stuff, a lot of the stories, other than like my mom's stories, a lot of this happened years after I left. It got worse, actually. It got worse as we went through, like, it got worse with Jeff, and then
Did you
and
feel you
Jenny.
needed to protect each other?
We always were. We always did protect each other the best we could.
It was like
Like from you to
unspoken.
Jeff, Jeff to Steve,
Yeah.
Steve to Jennifer? Did you
Yeah,
feel
'cause,
like
I
you
mean,
had to
if you
protect each other?
Yeah, well, being the oldest, obviously you take on some kind of role as being, like another little mother. But yeah, for a long time it was me and Jeff and Steven. So, we would be always together. And you go through, and I know Jeff, like, even when Jeff would get in trouble with our dad, it would be devastating, at times, because you
Really?
couldn't save. Oh God, yeah. I remember, he was getting in trouble upstairs, and I was sitting at the bottom of the stairs just crying because there's nothing I could do. And it's not like, my dad was going to kill him, but it sounded like it because we were
It's hard on
young.
him.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Jeff, do you remember the night you came home? This was years later, not to like jump through our history at the house, but it was when you came home super drunk one night, and I personally gravitated to Jeff. Me, like when Jeff, I always wanted Jeff around, like wherever he was. So there was a night where you came home and got into that physical fight with mom in the kitchen, remember? Okay. Not to
Yeah.
bring up so I had a tendency, I didn't sleep until I knew you were home safe. So I would stay
Right.
up. I was in the living room passing out on the couch. And then something abrupt woke me up, like somebody was watching me. So I thought maybe you were home. And then I heard my name from the basement that night. Like it started there, Jennifer, come here. And it sounded like it could have been you, but I didn't get up for a minute because I was like, wait, like I'm groggy. And I'm like, I don't hear him. I don't hear Jeff. I don't hear nothing moving around. So I just paused for a second, and then I could hear it on the floor steps by the back door. And it went from Jennifer, and it was like, Jennifer, it got more aggressive, not like yelling, but like agitated that I was not coming. And then it would say, Jennifer, I said, come here. And I'm like, is that Jeff? Is he home finally? And I was like, wait. And then I could hear it right at that kitchen door. And then that's when I started freaking out, panicking. So now I have the covers on me, like I'm frozen because I don't know what's coming around that corner or anything. And it was like 5 minutes later, from the kitchen door to the front door, that's when that dark figure walked by slowly. I could see the whole outline. I couldn't see through it, but it was letting me know that it was there. And that's the same night you got into that fight with mom.
Right.
Wow.
Jeff, you had
And-
that
So-
same incident.
Yeah, let me bring up that same incident as far as the basement and the whispering. For some reason, I can never sleep in my room, which was upstairs, mom's old bedroom. So I'd sleep anywhere. Most of the time, it was on the couch in the living room. So I'm laying there in the living room, and it's getting about 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm laying back. Then I start hearing my name being whispered, Jeff, Jeff. I'm like, and I know everybody's sleeping, so I'm like, oh no. So I'm listening again, Jeff, come here. I'm like, what? So I kind of sit up, and it's distinctly coming from the basement. Same place that Jennifer heard it. And I'm going, I'm not moving. I'm frozen. And it's like, come here. And I was like, no. So that's when I just went upstairs, laid on the floor in Mom's room, and just let that be. So that's kind of weird that we experienced the same thing coming from the basement.
Like it kept getting closer and closer. Like, and it was more of a not yelling at me, but you could hear the agitation in the voice. It didn't raise its voice. But when it was right by the kitchen door, I was waiting for something to like appear. And I couldn't run upstairs because if you guys remember, the only place I was sleeping, even till I was in like almost graduating high school, was with Mom in that house. I could not sleep anywhere else. I needed somebody to be by me. It's because I felt like it feeded, and it got worse once Steven left because I was there all by myself now. And then Mom, Mom, I don't remember her having any other experiences other than when we were young, but then all it had was me.
Right.
She had several.
Go ahead with some of Mom's experience that you remember, Sho.
So I was living in Colorado at the time, and I had come home to visit. It may have been, so it was me and little Andy, and I always slept with Mom. Again, we're back with this whole like where you sleep where you're comfortable. So I'm upstairs, we're going to bed, and we talked a little bit, and then the lights go off, and I already know I'm a young lady, I'm a mom, so I already know all the stories that happen in the house. So we're just laying there, nothing. We didn't even talk about anything about ghost related or anything that was happening in the house. And it's silent in the room, and then all of a sudden she goes, "Well, that's weird." And I'm like, "Well, what's weird? What's wrong?" And she goes, "Well, it's like somebody, like," she's like, "my feet were up in the upright position. It's like somebody grabbed my foot and pushed it down." And I just remember just not yelling, but I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I'm not going to sleep tonight now because you had that experience." So, but like, that was it for that night. She also distinctly told me about a time because she had the waterbed, and the waterbed heater wasn't working, and something woke her up in the middle of the night, and she could see it in a room, but it was more like, she said it was more of a like a whiter apparition. And she always told me she felt like it woke her up out of her sleep, because she knew, like, because I think you can get in trouble like if the waterbed gets too cold.
Hypothermia.
Okay, yeah. So she always felt like that whoever it was saved her that night just because. And then she would tell me stories about it was constantly somebody running up the stairs and stopping right in front of her door. And she would yell like at either Jeff or Steven or Jenny, but nobody was there. Or else the dryer would kick on by itself.
Really?
So,
Do you think Steve had more armor, so to speak? Like, Jeff dealt with some serious dark shit, and then and then Michelle, you had to start it off seeing everything, and then Jeff saw it, and then like Jeff, you admit you were pretty daring. Steve just seems like, okay, bring it on. I want to see it.
before Steve says anything, before
Go ahead.
Steven says one word, and I'm sure this will get it edited out, but that mofo was high.
Well, that came later, obviously.
The fear of missing out?
Yeah, that came.
He had the fear of missing out?
You know, it might be, but
I mean, he wants to do it as a profession now. So I was,
yeah.
I
I
mean,
was
he
just
already is,
curious.
and look at it. No ghosts have attached themselves to him. He's fine.
Do you think he had more armor though when he became cognizant as a teen and stuff, based on what you guys went through? Jennifer, I'm the youngest too, so I know Jennifer had probably the best. You guys made all the mistakes, and then we got away with everything as the youngest. But do you think Jeff was more armed up
Well,
about it.
I think Jeff,
Or I mean,
unfortunately,
I'm Steve. I mean,
it's
Steve.
okay. I think Jeff was going through a different phase in his life. Jeff, I remember him carrying the Necronomicon. He had
Yes.
older, he had
Yeah,
long
some serious
hair.
shit. Some
No, he
serious
really was,
stuff.
and like he was dabbling in some things that I think could have potentially opened up
And he's a
some
musician.
negative
You can't trust
precedents.
those musicians.
Yeah, I think he was at a point in his life. You're a teenager. He was rebellious. Like I said, he had long hair. He listened to a lot of heavy metal. Looking back on it, obviously it was innocent. But when you're looking at the old Slayer, kind of at front, CD fronts or record fronts or whatever, they looked pretty satanic in a way. Obviously, you can't take away. So I think Jeff had kind of dabbled in some things that were a little bit questionable and could have resulted in maybe some things that he experienced that maybe some of us didn't experience because I think he opened up that doorway himself. Would you agree in that, Jeff?
all right. Well, I'm not the same person I was.
No, of course
Agreed.
not.
No.
No,
All
they're
right.
totally
So,
different.
Absolutely.
all right. So let's go back to my teen years. Now, I never felt like I fit in anywhere. As far as like high school, was I, sports? Was I a stoner? Was I this? I never really felt like I fit in anywhere. And then we're all trying to vie for dad's attention a lot. And I took the brunt of a lot of dad's anger, I suppose. So that builds up in you. And what I found that would like kind of, I said, all right, if I'm going to be bad, I'm going to be as the bad as I can, And so whenever I played with the Ouija board, because Frank, everybody remembers Frank, right? He'd come over and we'd play with the Ouija board in my bedroom, and we'd start yelling at the Ouija board, and we'd ask it its name, and it would always tell me Satan. It would always spell out Satan. And we'd yell and we'd cuss at it. We'd throw it across the room, and we'd constantly play with this thing. So I don't know if that actually unleashed anything or brought on anything dark. It probably did, but into the house. But then I also picked up the Necronomicon, which is by way a fictional book. Anyhow, but you'd carry around like the high school and people are like, oh, don't turn me into a frog. So it was like a thing of defense almost. But with all that being said, yeah, to me, that thing is a gateway. Those Ouija boards are a gateway. And I was just trying to reach out to somebody, and it's constantly telling me it's the Prince of Darkness, So, and then you keep nudging it and you keep pushing at it and like yelling at it, it's going to lash back out at you. And unfortunately for me, like it would call my name at night. There was one night I was listening to Slayer in that oppressive room that we talked about, and yeah, clear as a bell. I just took my headphones off, set them off to the side, and I laid back, and we heard running up the stairs. I mean, clear as day. So I sat up and running down the hallway because the stairs were carpeted. Then you had hardwood floor. So it went from a carpeted thump, 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 and then you could hear it run down the hallway, stop dead in its track in front of Mom's door. Now her door was closed, and I heard Mom sit up going, Jennifer, get in here. So she said that 3 or 4 times. So I get up out of bed, and I go to the hallway, and I look around the hall because I expected to see Jennifer, and nobody's there. And that gave me a chill, so I knocked on Mom's door. I said, did you hear that? She's like, yeah, tell Jennifer to get in here. I'm like, Mom, there's nobody here. That's when I walked downstairs, and I looked, and Jenny was dead asleep in Grandma's room.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we played with the Ouija board a lot, and I advise people if you don't know what you're doing, don't mess with it at all. But Frank and I went to his cousin. His cousin had a a party, a Halloween party, and she invited us. So it was just Frank and me and like 8 other girls. Anyhow, so
I love it.
Tough duty.
yeah.
Tough duty.
So we were in the basement, and this girl and I were messing with this Ouija board, and the record's playing, and she was asking it questions and stuff, and I was like, yeah, you know what? This is bullshit. You know, and I kept taunting it, and all of a sudden, that record scratched whoosh, and just stopped. And the planchette just stopped. And so we were like, okay, we just threw it to the side, went on with the party. Well, Frank tells me a week later that he goes, you know, my cousin called and was saying some horrible stuff was going on in her house. And they finally figured it out. It was coming from the Ouija board, so they threw it out. I was like, great.
Oh.
All right.
That's
Yeah.
bad.
Well, you guys,
Yeah.
just so you guys know, I think your brother Jeff is top shelf. I mean, he's my
we
pal.
do too.
Well,
He's
I gotta
he's
say,
top shelf.
I gotta say something. Even though he was, in my eyes, as me being the youngest, Jeff was nothing but the kindness. He was my hero in many ways. I gravitated towards him. So even though he was going through whatever, he played a big role in my life in not a negative way. I just always wanted to be around him. He never pushed me away. He would always welcome me in and was the sweetest person to me. So from my eyes, I never looked at him in bad light whatsoever.
Yeah, with Jeff and I, what really the reason we even do this, so what we're doing now is we're kind of crazy about the truth. We think the truth is best for everybody, so we like to try to get to the truth. And he's one of the few people that can tell me on one hand, I invited some weird shit into the house. I know evil shit. I know I did. And then on the other hand, he'll say, I care. What's that book called, Jeff? The
Necronomicon.
He said, I'd take that to school and people would be afraid of me. I got kind of a rush out of it. And
It was a sense
it's
of
so
power.
real. No, it's so real, though. It speaks to who Jeff is. It's so real. I mean, he will tell you the truth. And that's what he got. He said, yeah, on one side, it was, I was really messing with some shit. But in a social environment in high school, I wasn't the quarterback of the football team, but I'd go to school and people would like step aside when I walked down the hall. That's cool to me. I mean, as far as him being honest about it,
Right.
it's like, there was it empowered him to a degree. And I've always respected that. And I just wanted to let you know, I don't in any way degrade. He tells me about this stuff. We even talk about psychics now because I won't tell the story, but my sister's dealt with psychics in the past, and so have I, and just with her. And they tell you they talk to dead people in your family. And Jeff and I recently, we've been talking about, what's that one psychic, the lady that's been doing it, Jeff? She says, you don't talk to your dead people in your family. You talk to evil. And so it's just interesting stuff like that. But I just wanted to let you know, Jeff's top shelf in my book, guys, just so you know.
Wendell, real quick, just so you know, Jeff was the only, of the 4 kids, he was the only one planned.
Yes, he was.
And we used to call Jeff
Really?
growing up. Listen, I
The
know
golden
that
child.
Jeff didn't
Golden
have,
child.
he was the golden child. Just
Yep.
so you know. So if you ever when you want to just push him a little bit, just go, oh, golden child.
Golden
To the
child.
point, Wendell, that he had a special, because my grandmother made these nice
Yes.
Christmas stockings for all of us, right? And all of them were red, except Jeff had this beautiful emerald green. Like he was the
That's
only
right.
one that had a special colored
Wow.
stocking, and it bothered us our entire life. We're like,
It did.
how did Jeff get this
Wow.
special
It
stocking?
did. And again,
Jeff,
it's a testament to like how we grew up, because by the time Jenny came rolling around, Jenny and I are 15 years and a day apart. So it's clearly 2 different generations. And, they watched all of us grow up through different periods of time. So poor Jenny didn't get a stocking.
No.
She
Oh,
got
Jenny.
screwed.
You
Time
got
out. I
Figa.
got a stocking.
You did?
You better. Yes, I have
Yeah,
a
she did.
stocking.
She
I
did.
still. I got one. Don't
Okay.
worry. It's all blinged out. I was Grandma's favorite. Don't you play?
Don't start.
Okay.
Don't
So-
start with me. Listen.
So these
Hold on.
These epic struggles that Jeff tells me about, they're not so.
Well, it
No,
depends
you know what?
struggles
Honestly,
you're referring to.
I mean, if you think about it, for us as a family, when push comes to shove, if we're all in a room, we're like four little children running around, just enjoying each other's and telling funny stories and always laughing together. Because
Absolutely.
you know, we really
Or go
did.
ahead.
Even though we had some really different traumas as we were growing up, we did really have some great times. I mean, we really did with family, you know.
Where are
And
you living now, Michelle?
I live in Lorain. I'm up here in Ohio.
What about you, Jennifer?
Westlake,
Where's that
Ohio.
Ohio.
She's
Ohio.
about
Steve?
30 minutes away
Yeah,
from me.
Columbus, Ohio, Central Ohio.
at? Close to Lorraine?
No, about 2.5 hours, give or take.
Jeff, where would you be living if you weren't in Florida with me?
In Florida with you.
You might as well put another room in your house,
Yeah.
Wendell. He's coming in.
Yeah.
But Jeff, going
Yeah.
back to the house, it was weird that because when I went to go visit Kay, because something told me in my heart to go do it. It was random. Like I called her because it's been forever since I seen her. I said I should do this for like mom, like something in my heart. But instant, I looked at that house, how heavy I got. It was like a flood back. Like
Yeah.
I don't know because I cried leaving it because we had to leave, but it was a way. If I'm sleeping with mom until I'm 18 years old, something is wrong.
No.
And
Right.
it was like we would talk about it, but we wouldn't really go in depth. We all knew something was going on, but me being the youngest, there was a lot of things that I missed out or I can't even remember because I was so young at that time.
Right.
So I had
didn't-
more of dad not being there is how I was raised.
You're lucky.
Mom was going through her phase of, you know what I'm saying?
I know.
Freedom. I was more alone with grandma. So that's where the attachment comes with
Yeah.
grandma. Now, I have a feeling, honestly, why it picked on me so much the way it did is because of how much I gravitated towards you. So it's funny how I totally forgot about that story, how you were hearing somebody call your name from the basement. And then the night that I was sleeping on the couch, because I tried to stay awake waiting for you. And
Right.
that for that to happen was like the first time I've seen the dark presence. Like, and it was clear as day walking from the kitchen to the front door that I was just paralyzed. And I think it literally maybe 15 minutes later, because I wanted to run upstairs. I didn't know what to do. And I was like, I know this is happening. I think it was 15, 20 minutes later is when you walked into the kitchen. I don't know how the whole situation happened with you and how it got to mom coming downstairs. I can't remember. But I think
Didn't it mess with the electricity in the house?
Yeah.
For you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Steve,
I
go
was,
ahead.
yeah, I was playing video games. It was, I'm trying to think if it was right around the time one of our dogs passed away, one of our like really good dogs. I'm thinking, if I'm correct, was it Blackie? Anyways, what a great dog. And so I'm up playing like Super Nintendo and I'm the only one in the living room. And I noticed, I looked out the front door. You remember the little windows at the top of the front door? I saw our porch light flicking on and off. And the weird thing about it was that the switch was on the inside, right? So I'm looking out the window and I'm like, oh, okay. But then it stopped. So I just looked back, started playing video games, didn't think of anything until the lamps behind us. Remember the lamps, you had the little turn knobs inside. You had to like put your arm up and turn it and it made that clicking noise. Well, those lights started turning on and off back there. And I remember looking back and that's when I started getting like real worried, like, cause I was hearing the clicking and then that stopped. And then suddenly the Nintendo went off and then turned back on. It was like Nintendo. And I freaked out so bad. I ran upstairs and got Jeff and I told him like, somebody's messing with the electricity, like and he came downstairs and we went to go check the breaker box. And there was nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong. Everything worked. It was just odd, like all of the lights and everything. And it started outside and then worked its way to the back of the living room, all the way to the Nintendo system that I was. And it was the Nintendo that had the little slide bar, was how you reset it or turned it on. If you guys remember, it was that game system. And you know, the odd thing looking back is we sit here and all have these discussions about these ghosts. You notice I none of these happen when we were all together. Like, think about it. Almost every ghost experience we had as a family, you might have had a friend over, you might have had some, but never together as siblings. We never had like a multi experience together that I can think of. I mean, I had them with cousins, I had them with friends, and whatnot. I mean, going back, Wendell, you had mentioned the $20 bet. So, you know, when I used to have the going back to the bedroom that Jeff and I had upstairs, that freaky bedroom up there, um, there was something odd about that room. We even tested it. You could open up in the middle of the winter, you can open up those windows all the way, and you could walk back in there, it'd still be 80 degrees up there. For some odd
Really?
reason. Oh God, yeah, that room was always hot, like super hot. And
Do you
I'm
remember the
telling you,
little door in the closet?
yeah,
Like, where
like
did
it was.
that little door lead to?
I
The
no,
attic.
I don't think anybody knows.
Didn't
'Cause
anybody ever open the little door?
I was
It was
always
afraid.
never
open.
did. We never did.
I did.
Oh,
You
It
did?
goes to the attic.
okay. So, but anyways,
What?
I'd have a party at the house, and
I
I
didn't
always
even
bet
know
people.
we had an attic.
Oh, come on.
Like,
Yeah. Oh,
There
well,
was
above
okay.
another
us?
attic.
It was a weird attic, and no,
Yeah.
that was well, it was, but it was off to the side too. It was like, and when you walked up to the upstairs, there were like three bedroom or not bedroom doors, but there were three doors. Two of them were
Yes.
like closets, and one of them
Mhm.
went back into the attic.
Mhm.
So I'd have parties at the house, and I would invite people. I'd say, hey, listen, I'll give you $20 if you can go up and stay 20 minutes in this bedroom by yourself. And I'd always take them up there, by the way, too. I'd walk them upstairs. I'd say, hey, if you could sit on this bed for 20 minutes, I turn off the light. All you have to do is sit here. That's it. 20 minutes. Just sit here with the lights off, and then I'll give you $20. And I had multiple people take me up on that bet, and not a single, I never paid out $20. And the weirdest thing was,
What do you think happened while they were sitting on the bed in that 20-minute period? What made them say, no, I can't do it?
well, what they would tell me, because I'd ask them, I'd say, hey, you spent 13 minutes in that room. You missed it by, 7 minutes. Or, hey, you spent, and I would ask them what happened. And they'd say, I didn't, I didn't experience anything. I didn't, but that room was just so dark. And going back to the pressure, they said they just felt like somebody was in that room, and somebody was like maybe applying pressure. Like, they never had a legitimate story to tell you, like, oh, well, this was moving or that was moving. It was just, they felt very eerie, they felt very, like, just very odd and weird, and they would come running out of that room. And that I never paid. Yeah, I had multiple people attempt it, but never. Yeah.
That's
Wendell,
cool.
my mom's like that was the room that my mom stayed in when my grandpa built that room up, and she hated it. She did not like staying up there because it bothered her. Because again, she was all by herself, first of all, on the second floor that wasn't completed, and it was a very scary room to her. So
And
it
this
was-
is all before Jeff's little dilly-dally with the asking the demon to show himself. That's all. Things happened
That
way
was
before that, right?
Way before, yeah.
way before.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Steve. Oh, go ahead, Shell.
No, I was going to say Steven's got a great story, I thought. Or
Which one?
Steve, tell us about the Pete Costello incident.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So, now this was when Shelley had already left. I believe Jeff, you were out of the house too. I think Grandma was still living there. maybe I'm trying to yeah, she was still living there. And it was Jenny and myself, mom still, and I used to have friends. And now by that point, my old bedroom, I was the room we're all talking about. That's weird. I had moved down into Shelly's room at that point, so I was laying and kind of chilling in there. And one night I'm just sitting there playing video games in that room, and my buddies, they were open door policy. Like even my mom, like, hey, if they're coming over to, my friends would just walk in. Very rarely would anybody ring a doorbell or anything. They just knew, walk right in. So my buddy Pete called me, said, hey, I'm heading your way. I'm like, great, fantastic. So I'm playing video games, and my buddy Pete shows up, and he's at my doorway to my bedroom, and he's standing there, and he goes, "Hey, you mind if I grab a Pepsi?" Well, to this day, I don't know why, Wendell. My mother had this habit when she would bring home Pepsi or Coke or any kind of like 12 packs or bottles or whatever, she'd leave them on the landing. So when you enter our house from the side door, right? It's straight down the basement. Like there's a landing right there when you walk in. So many steps right to an unfinished basement straight away. Or you take a left about 6 stairs to go up to the kitchen. Okay. So I'm assuming mom, as she's walking in, maybe it's just the easiest way. She would just leave the Pepsi right next to the heater, by the way, which is kind of odd. But it would be sitting there and everybody was just used to it. That's where you got the Pepsi. And we'd always go and grab a cup with ice. So, anyways, my buddy Pete disappears from my side. He's like, hey, I'm going to go get a Pepsi. Like, hey, help yourself. I'm still playing video games. I'll tell you what, Wendell, I probably couldn't have counted to 10 before he was standing right there. He had this white face on and he wasn't saying anything. And I look at him like I'm looking at the video game, which is this way. And I occasionally looking up at him and I'm like, he's just staring at me. I'm like, Pete, what's up, man? And he's just like he's like, I, um, I, and I'm like, Pete, spit it out, dude. What's going on? He's like, I just saw something in your basement. And I'm like, and then I pause the video and I'm like, what? And he goes, dude, I was like, all right, what happened, Pete? He goes, so I walked to the landing and I put my hand down into the 12 pack of Pepsi, and my eyes just automatically looked down the basement. Now it's dark down there, okay? And the one thing you could see when it was dark down there, because there was enough ambient light, where you could see the pillar, the metal pillar that holds up the I-beam for the house. It's right there at the bottom of the steps. We had multiple, but there was one right there. Now, mind you, Wendell, you could see to the left, right? There was no wall blocking. It was just whatever you could see down the stairs. You could see the pillar about 30% this way in your sight. And he said, when he looked down, he saw two hands only wrap around this side of the pole, and he saw a head just pop out of that side of the pole only. He said he saw nothing to the left where if it was something human or something like that, you should have been able to see the whole body wrap itself around the pole and then look up. He said he only saw it on from his
Isn't that
view
weird?
coming around the right side, and he saw a face just pop up and look at him, and he was back in our room. And from that day forth, Wendell, anytime, it didn't matter day or night, anytime Pete would show up at my house, I had to meet him at the door and walk him back into the bedroom. Or when he was leaving, I'd have to walk him out, or unless somebody else was there, and he could just walk out with them. But,
Yeah,
I asked
that's
him
cool.
about it, I'd say maybe 2 or 3 years ago, just kind of touching base. And he said he doesn't like to talk about it. He said he still remembers exactly what it looked like. He said it didn't really have it was all white. Said it didn't really have a human face or anything. He said it was just a head and the kind of like swirling a little bit. But he said it was a head and he could definitely see two hands come around the pole.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow. Good
Well,
stuff.
Jennifer, getting back to you, what are some of the other things that maybe we don't know that had happened to you, or you and Erica, or you and some other friends in the house?
Jen, tell him about your old boyfriend walking out.
Wait,
Story. It was
I don't.
the Hispanic gentleman. What
Okay.
was his name?
Lewis?
Yes,
The one.
Lewis. So one night, Lewis was staying over pretty late. It was probably around midnight, okay? And it was back when Jenny was staying in Grandma's room. And Lewis said It was dark out. Obviously, we had enough ambient light. You could see he was walking through the hallway, and then he's about halfway through the living room, facing the front door. And he said he felt a hand just grab him really hard on his shoulder. He said, matter of fact, he could see the indentions of the fingers in his shirt, but you could see no hand.
Huh.
And he said he
Oh.
tried to kind of look back to see, and he said he didn't see anything, and it didn't say anything to him. And he said the only thing he could think to say was, I promise I'll take really good care of her. And then he said he felt the hand lift up. He didn't see the indentions in his hand. And he said he walked right out the front door and just out the door he went. Done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now I remember that. Like,
Yep.
that's not, for some reason, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
Because there was, how many years? I can't know exact how many years that, like, after you left, Steve, it was just me. And I think since it only had the energy to focus on me, like, if I wasn't sleeping with mom, there wasn't a night I slept alone. And
Did it attack Erica? It like
it
slapped
did.
her a couple
Oh
times
yeah,
in the middle
it
of the
got.
night.
Me and her were on the couch in the living room, and she abruptly woke me up in a panic, like jumped on me, like scared out of her mind. And she's like, it slapped. She wouldn't say it, he or she, but like she said, it slapped me. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I'm just coming out of a daze. She goes, it hit me. And like, you could see like redness on her face, because I was like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? She was like, the ghost. Like, it abrupted and woke her up. For whatever reason, I feel like from the time Erica said she did not believe in ghosts, and it did what it did to her, she could feel presence, where like a sixth sense in a way, like, was woken up in her, because there's multiple stories even outside of the house that, like, where Jeff was staying. Me and you and Nikki were apart at that time, and I feel like you might have, this is why I bring it up, you might have wakened something for yourself for whatever reason in your teens. But we were babysitting and Nikki went out. And like, you were staying at the house. It was me and Erica watching Cody. It was just Cody. And at that time you had the old like teacher's cart with the TV on a stand in your room with like the VCR tapes and stuff. Do you
Yeah,
remember that? Okay.
I do.
And right when we walked in, I got Cody to sleep and all that. And then me and her went in your guys' room, and like, we're going to go to sleep on the bed until Nikki woke us up. And she woke me abruptly, and she said, do you see him? And I said, see what? She goes, you don't see him, like, standing by the door? I was like, I don't see anything. She goes, he's mad. He's so mad right now. And then I heard a big crash in the kitchen, like something punched a wall or something. And then that's when it scared the shit out of me. I hear Cody start crying his eyes out. She goes, something violent happened here, Jen. It was your cabinet door with all the pots and pans, like where it was open, pots and pans were out. That was the big crash, because when Cody started crying, obviously I'm going to get up no matter what. And I grab him and I turn on, like, I come around the corner, because I remember it was the hallway. Your door, the bathroom was to the left from your door, right?
Yeah.
His bedroom was right next to you, but then you had a little bit of a hallway and kitchen to the left. You had just a pillar, though, right there, the dining room
Right.
and then the living room. And then you could see it all. Like, and that's when she said, something violent here happened. And she didn't tell me exactly what, or like describe, but she was like, it's a very heavy feeling. But I I didn't see the figure that she saw, but she was like, yeah, he's mad. I remember it still to this clear as day. And I was like, well, I cleaned it. I told Nikki that night, like, something weird's here. Like, I'm freaking out because the way it happened. Because what also happened that night is after I finally got Cody back to sleep, and we went back into the room, that damn TV turned on and it had the
Yeah.
static. And I was like, okay, I don't like this at all.
Right. Now, my wife can attest to that story because she said you guys were sleeping in the room.
Yes.
Cody was sleeping, and she was laying on the couch, and something woke her up, and she saw the darkest of dark beings walk across the kitchen.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, towards your guys' room, but just walk across the kitchen. And that's probably when she got up and woke you guys up, but she must have felt that it was angry. But maybe a day after that as well, that TV, because it was all the way down the hall, and it was one of the old ones you had to click on, just came on full blast, and there's nobody around. So she asked me, what the hell is going on with your family? That things follow.
I'm with her.
You know, it'd be really interesting, honestly. Some of these stories we tell involve people outside our family, right?
Mhm.
We've been. It would be interesting if we had some sort of follow-up show where we contacted some of these people and brought them on, because I'm telling you, my buddy Paul Ludwig, when he was going through some family drama of his own, he actually moved into 34th Street with us for, I think Jenny, you were still living there, but he actually stayed in Grandma's room for a while. And I remember him telling me a story about going down to do laundry. And he said, man, Steve, I'd fill up the washer, I'd get it going, everything. I'd slam the door, the door down, come upstairs. As soon as I'd get into the bedroom, the damn washer would stop. And he goes, and he goes, this is when nobody else was home except Paul. And he goes, and I'd just stop and I'd be like, wait a second, I don't hear the washer anymore. And he said he'd go downstairs and the door would be propped up, the washer door. And he'd go, man, that's weird, because I know I closed it because I heard it. And he'd go down, reshut it, get all the way back up the stairs, walk through the hallway. And he said it happened multiple times where the washer door would just open up on him.
It would be real interesting if one of you talked to whoever lives at the house now to see.
I say that
there's
we
anything going on.
should at least send whatever. We should try and contact the people next door and just ask them questions.
Well,
Not to
speaking about that, he did bring it up. He brought something up to Kay DeRay one day.
I know.
Shortly after we left the home, he actually asked Kay if somebody passed away in the house.
Yes, he did.
And
Mom said
Kay
that too.
just kind of looked at him like, you know what, I'm not really sure or anything. And, I don't know what Kay exactly told him. And to be honest with you, I don't know how Kay ever felt about it. I'm sure she heard the stories, but I don't know how she ever felt about it. So,
Wendell, real quick, two things. One, I know my mom, or I'm just asking my brothers and my sister. Mom said that she contacted the church, or she tried to call some paranormal individuals.
Jenny, and you know about that.
The other thing that was maybe very interesting is we had pets. It would affect our pets.
Yes, absolutely. Like Blackie, oh, that little slut of mine.
Yeah,
like,
what a beautiful
after
dog.
Mom comes home, how many litters did she have?
Oh, don't even
She always
go
wanted
there.
freedom, but Blackie would growl sometimes, even before I even felt any heaviness or anything. Like, she was up, and then there was one night where I was like, Blackie, stop. Like, nobody's here. Like, but she kept waking, staring at the door, and then my bedroom door. And then she started growling. And that's when the door opened. And it was really because I seen the doorknob turn. Now, I didn't see it like crack open really fast, but something had to slowly push it open. Now, as you know, our doors creaked so bad. There was no sneaking around that house.
No.
Like she stood up, that whole mohawk, and now she's growling heavy. And I was,
Wow.
but I've never seen her mohawk stand up. That means the dog is about to tear something up. And it just sat there. And then when I was like, well, what do I do? I'm not going to go where she's staring at. I'm kind of stuck in my room right now. And when it backed off, I think, is when she like sat her ass down, still staring and like kind of growling here and there, but like she would give me warnings, because I felt like ever since you guys left and it was just me in that house, there was things always being I remember one time mom coming and like arguing over, I can't remember the object that she was arguing about. She said, you must have taken it. And I was like, Mom, what the fuck are you talking about? I was like, why would I can't remember what it was, but Mom, like, why would I take that out of everything in this house? I've stole your misty lights. Why would I take that? It was something. And it would place objects in the weirdest places. Like I think it was a piece of jewelry of some sort. And I was like, Mom, you wear the ugliest, tackiest jewelry. And she goes, well, it's missing, blah, 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 blah. And then it was like 2 weeks later, it ended up being in the closet upstairs in the room we'd never wanted to sleep in.
And that's
I
funny.
can't.
Ironic.
And then Mom always was like, you must have put it there. I'm like, Mom, I never go in that room. Ever since, that door was always closed. It was never open until all of us, like as soon as I could remember, when Steve moved downstairs, I took over that room. And the things in it, I will agree with you guys. There was that desk that was like made into the wall.
Yep.
I would never open that small door in that closet. I would always have to have that. I would never even hang my clothes inside that closet.
There was a hole.
Never.
There was a hole there that went straight up into the attic. There was a ladder that I want to say there. Wasn't there?
I don't remember the ladder. I don't remember the ladder.
There's no ladder.
No ladder.
I've had to climb
hole.
up. Right.
Yeah.
I've had to climb up, and I've actually pushed that out of the way with a flashlight just to see where it went. And it sloped towards the back of the house.
Okay. The other side,
that
towards
makes
the
sense.
backyard?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because across on the other side, they had all those
Closet space.
doors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And where did that window, the one above Grandma's room, you know, the circular window?
That was that attic across from the upstairs bedroom.
Yeah. That was the
window.
Door. That was a freaky
was.
window. And, you know, speaking of objects, Wendell, I'm glad you brought that up, Jen, because there would be times when I was sleeping in Shelly's room, or what, you know, at that time was my bedroom, but I'll always call it Shelly's room. When I was sleeping in Shelly's room, I would come home from work and I would go and the bathroom was literally right next to that room. And I remember I'd pull all my change and just drop it up on my dresser or whatnot. Sometimes I would drop my change, and remember the built-in soap dish in the bathroom?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. I would either drop my change in that, or I'd drop in. And there were several times I would come into the bathroom, take a shower, and the change would be at the bottom of the toilet. And yeah, I swear
you guys lived in Amityville.
No,
you didn't live in Lorraine.
And then
you lived in Amityville, man.
Here's the weird thing, because the soap dish was kind of it was above the sink, but it was relatively kind of close to the toilet. So I thought, you know, sometimes I was a little bit stoned, I would think somehow maybe I knocked it off or whatever. But one time I challenged it. I definitely threw the change on the dresser. I was the only one home. And I'm like, I'm going to get you this time. There's no way. And I walked in the bathroom. I locked the door on purpose. And we had those weird locks where you had to
Yes.
click at the bottom. And I took a shower, and I took a quick shower. And I swear, I came out, and the change was in the bottom of that toilet. Never challenged,
yeah.
never challenged. Now, it didn't happen all the time. It was very rare. But speaking, Jen, you made me remember that because you were talking about the objects. And I never saw the change move. Never saw it. And I never heard it. Nothing opened that bathroom door, by the way. There's no way. It was locked. I was the only one home. And the change was at the bottom of that toilet.
Do you guys ever, well, Stephen, there's one story that I remember before I ask you this other question. Do you remember the presence that was looming over your bed when you woke up?
Trying to think, which bedroom was I in, Shell?
In my old bedroom.
For some odd reason, that one is not. I mean, I'm sure it probably happened. That for some odd reason, that one doesn't stand out to me right now.
Okay, I was just wondering about that.
But
one,
I do remember, Shell, that I remember hearing a story, and I don't know if this is just me misremembering things, but something about you and the alarm clock in your old bedroom. Something about you waking up and it'd be on a different dresser, blinking 12.
It probably did, and I probably blocked it out.
It's one of those things I remember.
You know, there are just things that I guess maybe like you just don't. Again, it's all in relative to what's going on, and I just knew that when I was in my room, when I'd sleep in there, that there were just rules in my head that I had to follow. Don't ask me why, and if you ask me today what they were, I don't remember, but I do know that there. Look, you guys all shared in the room afterwards, so.
Well, you know what, Wendell? This is interesting because, like when we tell these stories as a group here, it sounds like you said, we were living in Amityville. But I got to be honest with you, Wendell. The weird thing was, it would only come when it was the furthest thing from your mind. If you were thinking about the ghost or anything like that, nothing would ever happen. And I mean, we had so many family memories, so many family parties. Our Christmas Eve parties were to die for. We had some of the greatest
we did.
food and everything. I mean, so we had so much love in that house. And like every other family, you had drama, mom and dad sometimes wouldn't get along and things of that nature. But we had my grandma Kuspel living there, and growing up with my grandma was amazing and everything. And so it's weird, Wendell, because the majority of the time, as we're sitting here telling the stories, that's all somebody would think about, like, oh my God. But honestly, the majority of the time, by far, you felt perfectly at home or perfectly comfortable. Yeah, I'll tell you, there was a weird pressure, or you know what I mean, but you didn't always think about that. And the ghostly activity or the haunting would usually come when you'd least expect it. Like it would just be like a furthest thing from your mind, and something would happen to just remind you, I'm still here. Like, oh, okay,
And I wonder about that. Jeff and I talk about it occasionally when it's so normalized to you guys. To somebody like, Jeff and I talk about UFOs a lot, and we're looking for credible people or experiences kind of thing. But, I've never seen a UFO. I've never seen a ghost. And to me, it was just one instance would just, okay, I'm on alert 24 hours a day the rest of my life. The changes in the toilet, I didn't put it there. There's something going on here. Call the news, bring them over here. But with you guys, it seems so normalized to you. Now, obviously it's made an impact on each of you, in instances, but none of you seem afraid. None of you seem fearful in any way. I would think Jennifer, if I had to say anybody may have had some hesitation to it, it would have been Jennifer when she was by herself from what she was saying. But I don't think any of you have any fear of it, at least from what I hear.
I do have a question. Do you guys believe in the energy levels? Like when children, they have this energy force around them?
Yeah,
that's where I thought.
I think there's something to that for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Call my dark passenger. Like I said, I went through sleep analysis where I had to go sleep somewhere. And because I would call it my dark passenger, like it was always this dark figure. I would always be back in the, and it would come randomly. It would be a lot after we moved out of the house. And I would then be sleeping with mom again in her bedroom. But I would remember, it's so vivid to me that I would wake up and I wouldn't realize first I was in the dream. And then like would wake up to go get a snack or whatever. It was always at night. And I would then realize that, oh shit, I'm dreaming. I'm in our old house, grandma's house. This is a dream, Jen. You need to wake up. And I was adamantly trying to force myself to wake up because I knew it was coming. I knew this dark figure, and I'm telling you, it's the most haunting when you know you're in the sleep, and they call it sleep paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I was like, this is not, to me, it's still so vivid and true. It's not my imagination, because then I would feel the pressure when it got closer to me. And then it's tornado winds. Like, it's like, that's all I would hear. And now I'm trying to force myself out of this, you would say, nightmare that I didn't want, because I'm afraid what's going to happen next. That I violently, mom, was tried to help me wake up one time, and it was the new apartment we just moved into. She was like, Jen, I scared mom so much because I'm trying to force my body to wake up. Like, I know I'm dreaming, and I didn't realize how violent actually I'm being to what people might see outside, because I was sleeping in bed with her. And then Rob, I went through some years with nothing. No mystery, dark passenger, no any of that. And then when it happened with Rob, and that was like only a few months after we started dating. And it was right after work, so I just spent the night in his apartment in Cleveland, and he was like, you scared the shit out of me. And I was like, well, there's something I gotta tell you.
Yeah.
I said, it's just to this day, like, it's still, in a way, I look at it as this. I don't worry about it every day. But like Steven said, it's when you're not thinking. Because I would never go in the basement. The basement was the place that I felt like it reminded me of Freddy Krueger. Like, you had a light when the heater went out downstairs, and mom was like, Jen, you need to go. I said, I'll be cold. I am not. Like, if you look at it, mom was still doing my laundry when I was in high school. The fear of that basement, the only time I would go down is when Steve had parties. And I remember, and it all started because when I was younger, those two closets nobody goes in. Why did I have to be curious? Okay. Like, those were like, why not open it, right?
True,
Mom
Wendell.
did, though. Mom got you,
Mom
Steven.
eventually found it because there was a light coming through the bottom. I was dumb like that. But, you know, I wanted to see how far it went back. And I remember at one of our Christmas parties, it was at your house, Shelley, one year last. Thanks Christmases, right? I asked Uncle Jimmy if he ever experienced anything in that house, and he said no. So then I remember a different time I asked Uncle Ronnie. I said, Uncle Ronnie, you ever have any weird things happen at 34th? And he goes, it's funny you mentioned that. He goes, yeah, I actually did. And this is the gem he dropped on me. So he said it was a couple days after Grandpa passed away. He said he got up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, and he opened up the downstairs bathroom door, and he said Grandpa was standing right there, like, and turned and looked right at him. And he goes, Dad, what are you doing here? And he said it just disappeared right there. Like he said, he opened the door, he could see it as solid as day. Said that, and it just looked at him, disappeared.
I feel like Grandpa stayed around because he had unfinished business. The house wasn't completed. So in his head, he felt like that's why it dragged his presence back so much. Like,
that's what Jeff and Steve told me, the same thing.
I feel like I've never had any experiences of like that. I've only had ones with grandma, like where the perfume after, and I remember she was in a nursing home and I was sleeping with mom, and I had the most vivid dream that, like, remember grandma used to always sit in her rocking chair. Even though she had a TV in her room, I had to wait until she would go in her room so I could watch TV, right? Like, so the
Right.
soap operas and bullshit I had to watch. But I remember, but she always adamantly would get up, give me a kiss on my head, something, tell me she loves me and she's going to bed. This time she walked straight past me, and this was in my dream. And I was like, "Oh, grandma didn't give me a kiss." So I ran to her room, but when I opened the door to her room, it was actually the walkway to her coffin. And every time I would step closer to it, it would shut. So when I got to the coffin, and I'm trying to open it up, and then that's when mom got the call that grandma passed away.
Grandma just got mad right there.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah.
don't tell this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
I
did,
know
I
that.
have I have a quick question.
Yeah.
For you guys. Did you guys ever have a dream about that house? I mean, in recent years.
Myself,
No.
no.
No,
I
it's been,
have.
yeah.
Like I have
Really?
had
Yeah.
one. Yeah. And it's weird cuz I was in that house, but it was in the house, but it was like I was trying to find a way out of the house, if that makes sense. I just wondered if you
got you.
guys, but I knew it was that house. And I don't
Right.
even know why, because I don't ever really think about it anymore because I live in Lorraine, and where I live is only like 15 minutes away from that house.
Right.
So.
Interesting.
Now
what's-
here's
Yeah. You know
here's
what's
one
weird,
thing.
Wendell? Coming full circle on this real quick here. We started this podcast out talking about how we would love to go back and purchase that house, right? And isn't it weird that we all had these odd experiences there, some of us more horrifying than others, right? But yet, if you ask, I guess if you'd ask any one of us if we'd own the house or whatnot, I bet all four of us, I know I would, I'd probably say, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to own
we all
that
would.
house. Yeah.
Interesting. That's
Yeah.
interesting. That's a good point.
Now,
Yeah, we all
here's one thing. When my wife and I were going through a couple struggles early in marriage, I moved back into the house, and I had my son Cody. And the one night, Cody, he was younger. I don't know exactly his age, but I went around. I had put him to bed, and I had that Super 8 camera. So I was like, all right, this has been in my head for years. I'm going to start going around room to room, seeing if I could get anything on film or stuff like that. And so I started in that oppression room up in Mom's old bedroom, and I would go in, set it up, put it on night vision, and I would just ask real nice if there's anything in here that wants to make your presence known. Please make yourself known. And then I'd go and leave, go downstairs for 5 minutes and come back, and then would go to the next room. And then I remember I called Steve. I was like, hey, do you want to come over and join me in this? We're going through room to room. And he was like, yeah, sure. So we go to Mom's room, and I would point it in certain directions. Like, I remember we set the camera up and we had it in the direction towards her closet. Now, her closet was right next to her dresser, and her dresser had those handles where you had to pull them out to open up the drawer. So I'd say my same thing, and then we'd go downstairs, wait 5 minutes, and go back up. Well, we reviewed that little part of it, and you could hear this ting, 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 ting. And we're like, what is that noise? So we went in there and we started messing with just everything. And if you just took those handles and flicked it, it would bounce off and it would make that sound. We're like, oh, all right, that's kind of odd. But what really got me was we took it down to the basement and we were pointing it. From what I remember, I had this thing set up towards the one of those canning cellars that were the eeriest things. And so you had ambient light coming in from a basement window. But I said, you know, if you want to make yourself known, now's the time. We'll leave you alone. Turned off the light. You could clearly hear on this video me and my brother Steve walking up the stairs, up the landing, through the kitchen, and we sat down in the living room. I think maybe 3 minutes go by, and there was this horrendous scream. And I immediately jumped up and I ran over to, I think it was Shelly's room, because my son was laying in there and laying actually with Mom. And they were both sound asleep. And that stunned me. I was like, oh, dude, we got something. So all the lights went on, and we go down. We retrieved the camera. We brought it up, and we reviewed it. And this thing starts in the corner. Almost sounds like a child screaming from one end of the basement, right in front of the camera. It gets loud and then starts dissipating off. My brother and I are stunned. We're like, we caught something. And so I woke Mom up. Mom saw it. She's like, ooh. And then, as a matter of fact, Shelly, we called you
I remember
that night. You remember that
I do
too.
remember
so that's,
that. Yeah, we talked
that
about
is
yeah.
4 people that actually saw this video. Unfortunately, do I have that tape? No. There was some ghost investigator I let borrow to do some analysis. Never got it back.
Gave
I
it
was
to
like,
the government.
yeah.
Rule
Yeah.
number 1, never give it to the
Never.
government.
And you know, the weird thing about that, Jeff, is that when Jeff says that you can literally hear us walking through the kitchen,
You
you
can.
can hear the moment Jeff sits down on the lazy boy rocking chair. Like, that's how the sound, you could hear it. So, and if I remember, Jeff, I think it was facing a window. It was facing one of the windows, and but it was sitting on top of the freezer, facing across the basement. And you're exactly right. The only way I could describe it is it almost sounded like a kid or a banshee coming from the corner all the way, the furthest corner of the basement, all the way. And the weird thing, you don't see anything, but you just hear this
No.
thing come flying from a distance, screaming all the way past, like Jeff said, like literally right past the camera. And then it like Jeff said, it just dissipated. It was the oddest thing. It's almost to the point like, I'm going to show you guys something without showing you anything, is the
Right.
best way I could describe it, because it was the oddest sounding scream. And as soon as it happened and the scream stops, you can literally hear Jeff upstairs. That's how good the mic was. You could hear Jeff run across the upstairs and into the room to check on his son, because he literally thought
Yep.
it was his son. You could hear it.
Right.
But yeah, like after you guys moved out, it was just me and Mom. Like the cabinet doors in the kitchen, like randomly, where like if I would go and get a cup or glass or like a bowl for a snack, and it would always be happening more random, but like cabinet doors would be open. And then I'm like, okay. So then Mom would yell at me, quit leaving the cabinet doors open. I'm like, Mom, it's not me. Like, I know I shut it because it's that distinct click. Because we were
Right.
mean to those cabinets, okay?
Oh, we were.
But
Yeah.
it didn't, but it sometimes there was a struggle to open them. So it wasn't that we forgot to close it or somebody was opening them. And it would be periodically throughout the week. I would say about 5 times here and there, and it'd be different
Yeah.
different doors left open. Like, and I'm like, okay. And it got to the point that I'm like, all right, dude, this is getting annoying. And then do you remember that the wooden shelving unit that like had a whole bunch of bullshit in
Carvings.
between?
We used to carve on that cabinet.
Yes, we did.
Because
Yeah.
Yes.
the phone was right there, so we would write people's phone numbers right on the cabinetry.
Yes, we would.
So when you would
carve
talk to somebody, you would have to
Yeah.
look through it.
Yep.
Like, I don't
Yep.
know
Yes.
why it was there. Remember
Wendell,
that?
I
Yep.
wish we had pictures of the inside of that house. It was, but we left our mark.
cabinet.
We did leave our mark on that
Oh
house.
God, I would scream at my kids if they did that today. But for some odd
I know.
reason, we were
We-
all decorating and carving and leaving. Yeah.
Just joined in. Like, it was
Yeah.
just like a tradition. And
Yeah.
mom never painted over it, but I
Nope.
remember because that's where um the sink was and stuff. So I was putting stuff into the sink, and I heard my name being called from the kitchen table, like clear as day, calm, collective. So you have to look down to look,
Yeah.
and I looked and I was like, did I just hear this? Like clear as day, like just trying to grab my attention. So I had to look down through that. I don't know why that was there, but it ended up having all that bullshit junk. It became the junk drawer that we used to all
Yeah.
carve. But I looked down and I'm like, what? But nobody was home because most of the
Yeah.
time it was just me and mom. Mom was
Right.
always at work until 5 o'clock. I always got home from school, but before she would, on the days I would go to school.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
But
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
and there was one story where I seen it was grandma got the ramp for grandma in the house in the front of the house, that ramp.
Yeah.
Um and it was a stormy night and stuff, but the front I was sitting where grandma's old rocking chair. I can't remember what chair was there by then. And um I could see clear as day somebody on top of the ramp before even getting on our porch, just standing there. So I thought somebody, well, like, there's somebody trying to steal some shit. Or I have a stalker. So I get up and I run upstairs at that time because once she got a TV in her room, she didn't, you know
Right.
where to find her. After dinner, she was upstairs.
Oh
So
yeah.
you could do
With the air
whatever
conditioning
downstairs.
on.
Yes. And I'm like, Mom, like somebody's trying to break in or stalking or something. But I said, there's this really weird dude and he's on top of the ramp, Mom. Like I am in full panic mode. And she's like, what are you talking about? I said, why am I panicking and why aren't you running downstairs? Like, yes. But when she came downstairs, she goes, there's nobody here. Like she opened the front door, easy peasy. She could have got, shot or murdered by then. But like to her, it was just laid back, chill. And she was like, nobody's there. I said, Mom, somebody was standing right at that corner because it was a sharp corner to go down the ramp. Remember? It was built
Right.
in that
Yeah.
thing was built janky,
Do you guys
but
think
standing right there looking at me. And it scared the shit out of me.
so? Do you
'Cause
guys think, in all honesty, for us growing up, like when it first started, because it could be related to when Grandma Bush had died? Because I don't think somebody asked me, my boss asked me if we ever researched the land, but none of our neighbors had any issues like we did.
No.
But we should
So
have initiated and looked at what was there before because I feel like not to cut you off, Shell, really fast, but do you guys remember, did you guys who reached out to a psychic or something and was talking and the psychic called back and I remember it coming from mom. I don't know when. I think this was later. I was probably in my teen years, but um the psychic never made it over, I don't think, but she, after talking to mom, said it could be a child. It sounds more like a child, like ghost presence, because it's always playing tricks. It's calling names. It's always making appearances, but I never felt like it was so evil to the point that I was in danger. Does that make sense? Like violently, or I don't think we would have all stayed. I can't remember, but I remember mom calling and trying to get somebody to come over.
It
I
was
thought
And
she,
like,
Right.
Cleveland. It was Cleveland It was the Cleveland parapsychology group out of Cleveland State
okay,
University.
that's
Now
it.
they wouldn't come and see the house, but when mom was describing what was happening, that's what they told her was they thought it was like a wandering child spirit who was walking, like came through the house and felt comfortable and just stayed. That's I remember mom telling me that she called
Now,
them. Yeah, something.
now I do have that on video when I interviewed her from way back in the day. And she was saying that she called Cleveland State, the
Yeah.
parapsychology department. They never came in. She called the priest. They
Priest.
never came. So it's like the priest just said he'd say a prayer.
Okay,
you
there
know?
you go.
Well, thanks.
But All right, so in conclusion, do you think it was, Shelley, we'll start with you. Do you think it was just one spirit or was it multiple?
I think it originally started with one, maybe one and a half. I think if I had to guess, because somebody did pass away in the house, and they always say that residual energy is there. But I think as we went on, because we all dabbled in like the Ouija boards and things like that, as not so much with me, but as it progressively got worse for all of you guys.
All right. Steven, you?
I don't, I can't say anything about Busha. I really don't think she would, in my opinion, I don't think she was there. I think when she passed on, she had crossed over. I definitely think Grandpa Kuspel was there 100%. And you know, honestly, I do think that there were multiple spirits involved. I think we had opened up a lot of doors. Also, you know, they say that a negative energy attracts other negative energy. And, you know, obviously, mom's growing up in that house, from the stories I hear, were pretty rough, right? You know, with Grandma Cuspo being going through what she did, Grandpa obviously passing away when she was young. They had a lot of troubled times kind of in there, and that was even before we were living there having. So I feel like whatever was attracted to the house started in their generation with mom, Uncle Ronnie, and Uncle Jimmy. I think ultimately whatever, like if there was, I don't want to say an evil presence, because I don't necessarily think maybe it was evil per se, but I didn't have a lot of negative experiences. I had haunting experiences, like ghostly and surprise, things of that nature that would scare me. But ultimately, I think whatever was, other than Grandpa, whatever was there, I think was kind of attracted there, um, you know, by their generation and what they went through. And then obviously we moved in and we were living there, and I think younger people tend to attract spirits because of our energy, the energy that we give off and everything. So that's what I'd probably say.
Jennifer, your thoughts on that?
I think there because there was obviously, I don't think it's definitely not just one, because presence of grandma, I felt secure. It's the only room when I took it over, I felt safe, that I had like sleep nights where I would knock out. Nothing ever has ever happened to me in grandma's room, ghost wise. Like it felt like my secure area was either with mom or in that room when I finally got able to move in. But I think she paid me a visit. Yes, I do. It's like telling me it's okay. Because I was so attached to her. Um, but I believe there was unfinished business, something in that house that was unfinished, and that led to and we just kept feeding into it, like energy wise, because there was always,
Gotcha.
the house was full of kids. There wasn't a time the house, and if it wasn't just us, we had how many parties in that house? Our house was the known house to come hang out. I don't like, even with Shell, right? Like how many people would come over? Like I was raised without dad in the house. So, but there wasn't time, our
It's
house was
almost
the
done.
hangout spot. So the energy that was around the house, I just feel like something brought it. Um, I do believe that it's a child or of some sort, because it never violently attacked me. The only person I think that it violently attacked that I know of is Erica. Not once, but twice. And I think it's because she pissed it off. So the ghost needed to make it known, like, hey, we are real. But I never felt violently attacked from it.
I got you. And my thoughts on it, I honestly think it was one spirit that took on many different forms depending on how it wanted to react to you. It could have played innocent, it could have played nice, it could have played little tricks, or it could show its true colors in the forms that myself and Jennifer seen, where I mean it kind of gave you that presence that it was not a friendly thing. So Wendell, being an outsider, I mean, you yourself said you've never really experienced. Now, I just wanted to do a show where it's not embellished Hollywood style like Amityville Horror or something like that, but this real things that actually take place, and this is how families deal with it. So from an outside perspective, what do you take about all this?
I think I'm inclined to believe that when people pass over, they pass over. And I think in my opinion, I think you're dead on that it's a spirit, but I'm not saying it's an evil spirit. I'm not saying it's, a malignant one or an angel or good or bad. I'm just inclined to believe that it's easy for all of us because we loved the ones that have passed away. It's easy for us to go straight to it's somebody visiting because of our connection. And it's health, it feels good to us and stuff. But I'm really, when I mentioned that psychic stuff we were talking about earlier, and that psychic that was a world-renowned psychic forever, she's like talking people out of talking to psychics now because she said they do not talk to your dead relatives. And they talk to, I don't want to call them demons because I don't necessarily think she did, but they're things. And I think they know what maybe know what you're thinking, know what you love, know what whatever the case may be. But I don't know. That's just me from left field, just doing, I think it's a spirit. I think your house had a spirit in it. And from some of your stories sound like it had spirits just walking through there. Just, maybe you guys were a gateway or something. But I definitely think you guys had something going on. It's very interesting. Thank you guys all for sharing your stories. I appreciate it. I know a lot of them are personal to you, but
right.
I appreciate
it. But
I think it's entity. Yeah.
I got one more to add, and this goes to my brother Steve. It's almost like I'm where the 8 is enough, or that Brady Bunch. I'm pointing this way.
Yeah.
Anyway, Steve, tell the story you called Art Bell one night. Tell us what he told you.
It's funny. Somebody recently brought that up. I called that show multiple times to talk about it. And if I remember the one correctly, I was probably on there for about 4.5 minutes or whatnot, talking to Art Bell. Somebody just found that episode. A buddy of mine.
I guess
Art Bell.
I have to tell you guys
showed up.
what date it was from. But essentially, from my understanding, they said they Jeff, remind me of that, because I swear they said something to the effect of, yeah, that doesn't sound like a spirit per se or whatnot, right? Wasn't that something to the effect?
From what I remember is Art told you, he's like, why are you still living there?
Yeah,
I would be out.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And it's funny is I got yelled at by Teresa because it was at like 2 a.m. and we were in this little apartment, and I was calling, and Teresa coming out of the room like, what are you doing? I'm like, I was pointing on the phone, like, I'm on the phone, Art Bell. It was so mad at me. She's trying to go to sleep, and I'm trying to tell Art Bell about my haunted history, so.
Right. Well, I just want to say, Jenny, Steve, and Shelley, thank you so much for coming on and joining us for this show. I'd like to get this out there and just sharing your stories about this. I mean, that we have a connection here. It's all with the 34th Street house, and we all have different takes on it. But it's wonderful, and I appreciate you guys coming on very much.
Thanks, guys.
I had fun.
Well, absolutely.
All right.
Yep.
Until everybody out there, if you like this show, please leave a comment below. And if you have a similar story or some story that you would like to share, don't let it stay buried. Dig up that story. Email us at buriedstories74@gmail.com. And until next time, have a wonderful evening.